The 90s to the 2000s was the last golden era for network television. Before the streaming age, shows like The Sopranos, Seinfeld, Frasier, and Friends ruled the waves. With this came the emergence of a new group of style icons. Fans of Frasier's Daphne Moon, played by Jane Leeves, went on the hunt for outfits that recreated her cutesy girl next door aesthetic. That's, of course, when they weren't obsessing over which catwalk finds Fran Drescher was wearing as the star of The Nanny. And lovers of Friends, Rachel Green did anything and everything to achieve the choppy, glossy, blonde bob Jennifer Aniston sported in the show. But when Sex and the City's Carrie Bradshaw came along, played by Sarah Jessica Parker and styled by the legendary Pat Fields, her fashion presence blew everyone out of the water. No longer were women trying to recreate merely a haircut or a particular look. Women wanted the entire wardrobe that belonged to the star character from the HBO show, myself included. While her co-stars Kristen Davis as Charlotte York, Kim Cattrall as Samantha Jones, and Cynthia Nixon as Miranda Hobbs also had fashion lovers salivating over their looks, no one had quite the impact of the show's lead. While many of us were obsessed with what Miss Bradshaw was wearing, as a self-confessed bag enthusiast, I was more concerned with what was on the crook of Carrie Bradshaw's arms. And I'm guessing the same is true of you, so I'm going to take this opportunity to break down her 10 most iconic looks. I thought that I would throw this first bag into the mix at number 10. This appears in the episode entitled The Caste System, in which Big gives Carrie a clutch after she says I love you to him. While Carrie makes it clear that this Judith Lieber crystal-encrusted swan bag is not her style, I thought it was still worth mentioning as it signifies everything that Carrie isn't. It's fusty, fussy, and representative of the older Upper East Side Manhattanite women that Carrie doesn't identify with. We can see this visually as when Big gives it to her, she pairs it with a yellow corseted top rather than the velvet knee-length LBDs this was designed to go with, and her outfit lacks its usual cohesion. But I think this bag is significant in that it helps Carrie to affirm who she is stylistically, and she shows us that no matter the price tag of the item or by whom it was gifted, aesthetically she is committed to challenging homogeneity in a bid to be her most authentic self. What's interesting is that in And Just Like That, Carrie carries the J.W. Anderson pigeon bag, but despite this also being bird-inspired, this piece is a far more playful take on the Avarian theme than the heavily embellished Judith Lieber iteration, and reflects Carrie's love for eclectic arm candy. As 2021's most highly anticipated fashion drop, the Gucci and Balenciaga hacking saw the two houses sharing motifs, monograms, and silhouettes to create attire and accessories perfect for those suffering from logomania. One of the hottest pieces from the collection was the Hourglass bag, which makes an appearance in Season 1, Episode 3 of And Just Like That, as Carrie takes herself out on a walk. Carrie has always been one to dress from her own fashion archive, and the Hourglass harks back to the Gucci monogram belt bag from her Sex and the City days. Spoiler alert, it'll be making an appearance a bit later on this list. But I digress. The bag conveys a sense of casual cool, and Carrie is giving us a glimpse of herself at her most vulnerable, so soon after Big's passing. Perhaps the choice of the Gucci monogram acts as a highly fashionable security blanket, as it recalls a much simpler time in her life. But in this bold, fierce, Balenciaga-soaked version, Carrie is revealing that while the new her is yet to fully emerge, she is most certainly there. More a piece of art than a bag, the sparkle is a dazzling pink design. Paco Rabanne's chainmail pieces have been worn by Hollywood royalty since the 1960s, a time when it wasn't uncommon to spot a Jane Fonda or a Brigitte Bardot sporting his creations, and Carrie quickly followed in their footsteps. The bag appears in episode 10 of season 1 of And Just Like That, in which Carrie goes out on a date with award-winning teacher Peter, and with the elements that it has in common with Carrie's 2000s favourite, the sequined purple Fendi baguette, it seems that it is a way for Carrie to carry with her a little piece of the past as she grapples with a romantic future without Big. At this point, bags, better known for their whimsy rather than their user-friendliness, are a hallmark of Bradshaw's sense of dress, and the sparkle adheres to her fashionable rule, fitting little more than a phone, credit card, and a lippy, this bag declares Carrie's survival. While many things may have been broken, including hearts, Carrie's spirit was not one of them. The Gucci top handle appears in the episode Shortcomings. The bag, assuming it's not a vintage piece, would have been designed under Tom Ford's Gucci, which many believe to be the house's greatest and most defining era. The light brown leather paired with the signature Gucci stripe give what would be a more formal-looking bag an air of frivolity, especially when contrasted with what would otherwise be a more serious-looking, neutral, heavy fit. I have casually dubbed this bag the breakup bag, as it also appears in the episode Take Me Out to the Ball Game, in which Carrie dresses to the nines to watch a baseball game just in case she should run into big post-breakup. And in Shortcomings, Carrie chooses to carry this bag when she breaks up with Vaughn, her fleeting paramour in the episode. It shows that while Carrie is the embodiment of tongue-in-cheek styling, when it comes to men and fashion, with this briefcase-like bag, she very much means business. The Eiffel Tower bag makes its first appearance in the 2008 Sex and the City movie, while Big and Carrie hunt for a home to call their own in Manhattan. This bag is essentially architectural in its essence, constructed from wood and adorned with 7,000 Swarovski crystals. The bag has its own significance in Carrie's story, symbolizing the city in which Big finally tells Carrie that she's the one at the close of season 6. When she carries it, it is almost as though she is bringing a piece of Big with her. It is romantic in shape and meaning, as many consider the French capital to be the home of romance, showing that beneath her quirkiness, Carrie has a want and need for love and all its conventions. The bag makes a second appearance in the first season of Reboot, and just like that, when Carrie takes it to the City of Light. Within it are the ashes of her now-dead husband, which she scatters into the tides of the Seine, completing a full-circle moment, as she had originally used the bag to find a home, and now the bag would take Big to his final home. Carrie's Gucci belt bag caused quite a stir back in 2001, chiefly because, according to the New York Times, it sent eager shoppers into a frenzy as they tried to get their hands on the iconic piece. It appears prominently in Season 4's Time and Punishment, in which Carrie seeks forgiveness from Aiden for her disastrous affair with Big. In the episode, Aiden is on what is meant to be a guy's night out, and Carrie picks up this casual but classic accessory to join him. Okay, full disclosure here, I am not a fan of the fanny pack, but somehow Carrie Bradshaw will go down in history as the only person on planet Earth to ever have made one of these things look stylish. The low-slung, hip-hugging aesthetic that it creates allows Carrie to suggest sartorially that she can happily be one of the boys, well, at least for a night, and leave the Manolos at home. The bag is a symbol of Carrie's willingness to meet Aiden, whose dress veers towards the laid-back, halfway. And if you're going to compromise with a lover, what better way to do it than in Gucci? Anyone who knows anything about bags knows that the Hermes Kelly is no easier to get hold of than its younger sister, the Birkin. But a little thing like scarcity isn't enough to hold Carrie Bradshaw back. While she ponders the prospect of motherhood with then-lover Alexander Petrovsky in Season 6's Catch 38, like one of her many outfits, she tries on for size the role of being a mother, looking after Miranda's infant son, Brady, and does it all while wearing an exotic Kelly 35. As much as the Birkin can be seen as stuffy, the Kelly goes one further as the ultimate bag for ladies who lunch. But I understand why Carrie picked it. She is showing us that despite societal norms, if she were to take the plunge and have children, she would be very much doing it on her own terms and in highly impractical attire. The Kelly tells us that Carrie won't sacrifice her core being in the way that mothers were expected to pre-millennium. And we can guess that a little Crayola stain on a $10,000 bag won't have Carrie weeping in tears, which can't be said for the rest of us. Sex and the City was responsible for making many a designer go from being known only by the well-heeled to a household name. But there was one brand renowned for its discretion that gained a new prominence after its inclusion in the TV show. Hermes before Sex and the City was an in-the-know brand, loved by certain ladies of a certain age and a certain tax bracket, until the character Samantha Jones tried and failed to get her hands on their Birkin in the episode entitled Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda. Though apparently Carrie had more luck, it's always fascinated me that we see Carrie carry 3 different Birkins throughout the franchise, first in season 5, season 6, and then in the movie, and they are never mentioned. But either way, these iconic and elusive pieces of leather made their way to Carrie's wardrobe, though SJP revealed the bright blue Birkin from season 5 was indeed a fake. What makes these bags distinctly Carrie are the colours and leathers that she chooses to sport them in, reds, blues and greens, with the latter 2 being in exotic skins. Carrie found her own way of making these notoriously pared back bags align with her aesthetic. I just wish I had her luck when it comes to bringing home the Birkin. The Dior saddle is undoubtedly John Galliano's signature silhouette, making its first appearance in 1999 at the Dior Spring-Summer 2000 ready-to-wear show, and just a year later it made its way onto the arms of Carrie Bradshaw. The bag appears in the episode No Ifs, Ands or Buts in Carrie's first encounter with Aidan at his furniture store, and was used as a means of transportation for the cigarettes that Aidan so hated, hence the episode's title. Carrie carries the bag in its equestrian print iteration, and if you're lucky enough to find one of these on the pre-loved market, it will cost you an arm, leg, and your firstborn, so rare are its sightings. Why this bag has made it to number 2 on this list, filled with just about every iconic bag you can think of, is because it bears all the hallmarks of Carrie's signature style, with its asymmetrical shape, dangling charms, and its nod to riding attire. This bag, like the woman who wears it, is a rule breaker. The saddle on Carrie captured the zeitgeist of the new millennium, and she, along with other women, were no longer choosing to be confined to the conventional in this new era of accessorizing outside of the box. Fashion is littered with the ghosts of handbags forgotten, all having at one point proclaimed themselves to be the next it piece. Does anyone remember the Chloe Paddington? But in this instance, I think the Fendi baguette could make a pretty good claim for the crown, having made its own undeniable stamp on fashion history. It was designed in 1997 by Silvia Venturini and is still a hot topic of conversation amongst handbag lovers today. But it was when Carrie Bradshaw uttered the immortal words, "It's not a bag, it's a baguette," in the season 3 episode What Goes Around, that the bag took on a significance and status of its own. The bag's inclusion in the show was in part due to costume designer Pat Fields having the foresight to build relationships with fashion houses and in turn get them to lend the show clothes and accessories. The bag epitomizes Carrie and her addiction, and the addiction of Manhattanites in general, to newness. New clubs, new restaurants, new shoes, new men, and most importantly, new bags. Its fresh under-the-arm silhouette became a staple of Y2K fashion, so much so that Samantha even bought a fake. But it would come to symbolize Carrie and her irreverent, carefree, city-dashing and heels nature, with her wearing it in all manner of sizes and iterations. Perhaps the baguette was Carrie's way of telling us that a little Fendi equals a whole lot of fabulousness.